Good afternoon this Thursday, November 16th. Grain futures volatile, corn slamming lower but holding a prior week's lows and reversing, closing higher on the session as the 470 range has proved viable support on the charts that we'll get to in a moment imply maybe there's concerns with corn production in Brazil later this spring that will expand our exports into the second quarter. Now, first let's get to the at-hand story, and that is the rainfall that is forecast for Sunday through Friday of next week had some concern, and why not? Soybeans hit $13.98.5 just early yesterday morning, and that's $14 beans. We haven't seen that since September 10th or September 5th. And of course, selling was found there, and today it manifested further losses at one time, well over 30 cents lower on the session, closing down 25 cents. But we'll get that in a little bit. Right now, we're going to discuss the weather in South America and how the market, even though it's off, it's still holding a premium, and that premium can be added to once we go through next week. Let's take a look. First, we must discuss soybean Brazilian production. Bear in mind, I've showed you this chart here probably 30 times in the last 2 years, but for the sake of new subscribers, we need to always update you. Okay, so Brazilian soybean production. I want to show you something quick. Okay, we've discussed ad infinitum how Mato Grosso do Sul, and Goiás produces almost half of all bean production, and they're in the north and north central portions of Brazil. But if you look at the south, only 30% of the production comes out of the south, and that's where they're getting inundated with rain right now, which is not helping production either. But in the fall of 21 into the winter of 22, a drought broke out and hammered southern Brazil with a drought. What did soybeans do that year? Well, let's take a look. Here's soybeans 2021. This is October 12th, almost similar to us this year. They bottomed October 13th, bounced, came back on November 9th, popped a new low, but closed sharply higher that day because now the market was looking south to Brazil, and it didn't like that drought that was building in southern Brazil. And once we got into the Christmas time window, we accelerated sharply higher into February before the Ukrainian war got underway at the end of February. And by the end of February, we had experienced a sharp rally in beans of $4 just from December to the end of February, and then ultimately peaked in May at just under $18. So a $5 move occurred just because of what was lost in southern Brazil. Now let's take into consideration, we're discussing a larger area that is being affected, and the largest producers of beans and corn, we'll get to that in a little bit, along with cotton. And so as we look forward to moisture, first, before we go there, let's start with heat. This is today. It is 100 plus degrees. This is Mato Grosso. Let's do this again. This is Mato Grosso. Here is Mato Grosso do Sul. Okay? They're like 110 degrees. If you look at these down here, 40 is like 105, 44 is 110, and there are areas down there on this color band that experience those temperatures today. Even after the rains arrive on Sunday and Monday, this is Monday afternoon's temperatures. Still 100-degree temperatures in northern Mato Grosso while we cool off to the 90s and lower 100s in Mato Grosso do Sul. Then we do cool off into the 90s later in the week as this rain tries to arrive. Now, the most accurate forecasting system has been over the last month, 8 weeks I should say, is the GFS. The GFS through Saturday of next week does see rain coming into Mato Grosso. Here's Mato Grosso do Sul. And note that every 10 millimeters is 40 hundredths of an inch. So 20 millimeters would be 80 hundredths. And when you get up to 40 millimeters, this yellow, that would come to 1.5 inches. Notice there is some yellow to orange, 1.5 inches to 2 inches of rainfall. Even in some areas up to 2.5 they're anticipating. But most of the areas of Mato Grosso is just getting around 1 inch of rainfall. Same thing for Mato Grosso and Goiás. Yes, there's some areas that do get up to 3 inches, but it's not widespread. Now, why did the market freak out today? Well, you can ask those that want to run tail, but this is the euro, who has been inaccurate for 8 weeks. It has always seen rain coming, and the rain never comes. It had seen rain for this week. If you go back 2 weeks ago, I was showing you the 10 to 14 day forecast, always wanting to bring rain in. That never occurred. Basically, here is Mato Grosso, and the euro wants to dump a bucket of water on this. This is why you're getting some talk of 3 to 4 inches of rainfall. Here is Mato Grosso do Sul. Okay, so who do you want to believe? The one that's been right for 8 weeks, which is the GFS, or the euro that's never been right for 8 weeks? Or is it a blind pig finds an acorn once in a while? Or the clock is right, a broken clock is right twice a day? Whatever you want. This is the forecast from the euro. Now, will a euro fade away? Well, that's our expectations. We think it's the earlier one, and the rain will come, but normally they receive in Brazil at this time 4 to 5 inches of rainfall, sometimes 6 inches of rainfall, and all they're going to get is an inch, 2 inches of rain, which is a drought for you, well below normal precipitation. Now, Brazilian corn. Today, corn survived a dip below 470 and turned up because it's realizing if those rains of any kind come, the beans are going to get replanted, delaying this corn production, which is substantial. 75% of all the corn is a safrinha corn crop, which gets planted in the spring. Actually, it's like typically in late February, early March. It's not going in now till sometime in March, and it'll reproduce in the hot months of May and June, which is what they don't want. Production will be off. Also, there's talk of a lot of acres reverting over to cotton because not only is Mato Grosso the largest producer of corn, it's the largest producer of beans and the largest producer of cotton. So these guys are tooled up. They can plant cotton on a lot of those areas that get rain next week. And if they plant cotton, there is no corn on some of those acres that go into cotton because it just can't happen because of when the cotton gets harvested. So there you go. Let's go to beans today. We are peaked out last week at a wave 3, did a fast 4. We are now working a wave 5 up, which completes a 1. Today's break put it right inside the pocket, halfway between the 78% and the 62% retracement. Let's zoom in on it. Here's my 2-hour chart. I had labeled a 1 after that October rally. I had an ABC higher wave 2, which means we're bullish. We had a 5-wave advance up into the original 1380. A, B, C decline into a wave 4 just above the purple line. You can see in here a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-wave advance into the high of the week. And now we've got a little A, B, C collapse, which took it to the trend line support right in the center of the 78 to 62% retracement before it rebounded at one time 15 cents. And now we've got to get through tomorrow and Sunday night, Monday morning, which leaves room for wave 2 after wave 1 up of this 5 waves higher in wave 5. That allows us a pullback here that can still stretch down to the 1347, 1348 area, which hits this moving average. And this moving average is also quite interesting when you look back in time. It's pretty accurate how once it gets crossed, it becomes some support. Here's support, resistance. Once it's above, it holds. So here too, we anticipate 1348 will hold on any setback further into Friday or Monday before we revert higher into what we anticipate will be a move up to at least the 1430 range. And then we start another ABC break and another 5-wave count higher into December, early January if needed. Weather models right now imply December will still have a drought. Taking a look at corn today, busting below 1470 briefly and turning higher. We think this is tied to Brazil. And on an intraday basis, we need to get through on the 6-hour chart this 1480 resistance, which has been a problem and was a problem earlier this week when soybeans were hitting near $14. We've got to get above initially 480. Close above 41 tells you that the market is bullish. Our post-Thanksgiving low, our pre-Thanksgiving low is in, and we should see a rally then that carries us into the new year after our harvest low is in place. The dollar, if we close tomorrow below 105, I've stated we've got a top in place. I've been warning for weeks. 107 looks like a high. This is similar to last year at this time. This was a high in the month of October, and then she broke. I think we're seeing the same thing here. Whether we accelerate lower or not will determine. We've got a Congress that loves to spend. We fired up the continuing resolution, which means we maintain the ludicrous spending that got underway in COVID 2020, which was already ludicrous prior to that. But we've continually resoluted that without changing budgets in 21, 22, and now all of 23 into early 24. And will they get it done or not? Hard to say. But the dollar is now starting to revert lower on our inability to get our financial house in order. This is causing gold, which bottomed on the 10th of the month. We showed this last week, has now turned higher, and typically, seasonally now, moves higher from the end of December into February and has the ability to make new all-time highs again going into 2024. Live cattle turned back sharply lower again today. Rumors that Tyson was hacked. Of course, everybody had remembered how JBS got hacked and they were shut down for a few days. Right now, there is no response from Tyson. They haven't said anything, and all operations are occurring. So tomorrow we could see a recovery on this if Tyson does not come out, confirm or deny. But operations are still commencing and should be higher, and we'll see what the cattle on feed report gives us on Friday on the close. Live cattle, it's imperative we hold here, turn back up. Otherwise, something more nefarious could be at hand. Feeder cattle, we had put this line in here several weeks ago and said 224 was the target. Well, it got to 224 and changed and turned higher, but now we're pulling back again. We need to fire higher out of here because the continuation chart is unnerving. You can break through, but it always turns back up. We not only broke through, we broke through farther than ever, and we're not turning up fast enough. This thing needs to quickly get back above $2.35. We've got a feeder market that's probably floundering because maybe corn and soybeans in December are going sharply higher. I don't know. Does 2021 ring a bell we just talked about? We'll see. But feeder cattle need to find some imminent buying or they're still in trouble. And do recall, we were selling LRPs like crazy as we started projecting highs in August through September. We had been saying buy LRPs, and now they're in place until you get your cattle sold. This is Eugene Grainer with Heartland Universal Capital Management. Hope you find this information useful.